And she's talking about effects of cultural expertise on note transcription for vocal performances.
I just would like to thank everyone in this room and online who defied the two. Okay, can you hear me? Yeah, who defied the two symposia and made the long way to this room. Thank you so much for coming. Okay, so I'm Polina Protskova, and I'm going to present a study where I explored the effect of enculturation on note perception in vocal performances. Yeah, okay. So it's a follow-up study of the VocalNotes project, where we looked at the perception of notes in culture experts, looking at the differences in their transcriptions. Right. So ethnomusicologists have long recognized that two equally competent annotators can transcribe the same performances very differently. And that is particularly relevant for singing due to the instability of the pitch in singing and also the complexity of the vocal signal. And here you have an illustration, basically. So it's a Russian traditional song played on a keyboard and sung by a Russian traditional singer. And you can see in the instrumental performance, you can in the pitch curve, you can basically see the notes. In the singing, there are no notes. They're just squiggles. They have no boundaries. They have no classes, whatever. So how on earth do we manage to make notes out of them? The VocalNotes project was an international collaboration comprising 5 teams and other members around the globe. And the data is available if you're interested. Actually, the paper that I've just shown has just been accepted, and it is also, the preprint is online. So if you're interested, you can find it. I'll walk you through the repertoire that we transcribed. That's the Japanese folk songs. Chinese Bangzi opera from Hebei province. Russian traditional polyphonic singing. Jewish Torah cancellation from the Romanian tradition. And the Alpine Yodel. In that project, we created independent transcriptions of vocal performances from these 5 vocal traditions. And the main point was that the disagreements and transcriptions were not considered as errors, but rather as expressions of differences in perception and cognition. Our methodology comprised 4 stages, one of which was note segmentation, and that's what we're going to focus on in this study. Segmentation was done in Tony. It's a software created at the Center for Digital Music at QMUL a while ago. It basically gives you the pitch curve automatically extracted, which you can correct, which we did. And then you can segment the audio, and it gives you these beautiful blue bars for notes. The high-level outcomes of the project, that transcriptions were mostly in agreement, so we can use notes to analyze singing. Yet disagreements were common, and particularly where transcribers disagreed about the number of notes, the usefulness of the concept of note was at its limits. And that's a reason why in this follow-up study, we concentrate on segmentation rather than on pitch. We released the data set. It's there if you would like to use it. And in this study, whereas in the project itself, we had culture music experts transcribing vocal performances from their own tradition. Now we kind of swapped it, and now we have music experts who transcribe from traditions they don't know. I had so far 12 participants, a good distribution of gender and age, one of them with perfect pitch and 2 maybes. These are the traditions they're coming from. Most of them were ethnomusicologists, so lots of traditions. And the languages they speak. I tested their musical expertise using Gold MSI, and the majority of them have more than 10 years of experience. And the zeros that you can see here are different people. So we had someone who is an active musician, but it has no formal training, and the other way around. They're not the same people. So then I had to make sure that they don't know the traditions they transcribed. And I was looking for any kind of questionnaire to test for musical enculturation or the familiarity with the musical tradition that would work for different traditions, because I have different traditions here. And I haven't found anything. So if you know of anything, please let me know. I put some questions together myself, things like, I have engaged with these musical traditions on my trips to the country or through friends. When I hear this music, I can recognize the broad geographic or cultural area this music originates from. I can distinguish this musical tradition from other local related traditions. I can distinguish styles within this musical tradition. I've never heard music like this, so this kind of questions. And you can see as well that the majority of participants have never heard music like this. So the music that they transcribed. Now, coming to the evaluation, transcriptions are always compared pairwise. So whereas in the previous study, we only had culture experts to compare, now we have 3-way comparison. We have pairs of transcribers who are non-enculturated, pairs of transcribers who are enculturated, and the mixture of both. And we're going to see all of that. So this is, yeah, it's fine. It's very small. I know it's not the best plot to look at, but I will walk you through that, I promise. So we have had transcriptions for non-enculturated music experts for 2 Chinese songs, 2 Japanese songs, 2 Russian songs, 1 Jewish song, and 1 Alpine yodel. So if we start, for example, I don't know if I have a mouse here now. Okay, it doesn't matter. If we start with the Alpine song first on the very right, what is plotted here is the agreement between transcribers. The red circles are pairwise comparisons between non-enculturated transcriptions. And you can see that they're all somewhere between 80 and 90 something %, so quite a good agreement. And the green triangle is the pairs comparison of 2 culture experts. And it's in the same range. So it's kind of, it seems as a coherent picture here. Let's look at the very left, the first Chinese song. Here you can see the red circles, so the comparisons between the non-enculturated transcriptions show a very good agreement. But if you look, it's okay, it's fine. I won't see it myself. So anyway, but if you look at the green triangle, which is the agreement between the 2 culture experts, it's significantly lower. So it's a different picture. It's interesting. If you look at the other Chinese song next to it, it shows a very low agreement between everyone, basically, for that one. And the interesting bit here is that if you look at the blue squares, which are the mixed pairwise agreements, you can see that the non-enculturated annotators agreed much better with one of the culture experts, not much better, but better, let's say, with one culture expert, and less with the other culture expert. We'll look at it in more detail later. Maybe let's look at the Jewish song. So it's also an interesting case here as well. So there you see the green triangle. So the agreement between the two culture experts is very high. So they kind of did the same thing, whereas the non-culture experts totally disagree. They're completely elsewhere. Okay, let's have a look at some notes. So this is the Alpine song. The red transcriptions are the culture experts. The blue ones are the non-enculturated experts. And that's an example of a very good agreement. It's kind of basically the same. You can see tiny differences like here. Maybe I don't need the mouse. I can't see it. Forget it. Anyway, so you can see that some offsets are a little bit different or something, but otherwise it's the same. This is a Russian song, and it's kind of much less an agreement here. So you can see in some places, like around 7.5 seconds, there is a disagreement about the number of notes. Generally, there are disagreements about onsets and offsets in many places. So it's kind of a much more mixed picture here than before. This is the second Chinese song with a very low agreement, if you remember. It's a little bit small because I wanted to fit the whole song onto the screen. But first, let's start on the right. If you look at the last phrase, you can see already quite a lot of chaos there. So lots of different things happening. For example, there's this little tiny high note which both culture experts have caught, but none of the non-culture experts. But if we look at other situations like this, they're mixed. So there are many disagreements about the number of notes. So not a very unified picture. But the main thing happens on the left. So if you look at the second culture expert, so the second from the top transcription, in the first phrase, she segmented into tiny notes what the other culture expert considered to be vibrato. So for the first expert, it's one note. For this second expert, it's a huge number of tiny notes. And she actually performs this tradition. So that's how she conceives of it. And she also used the slowing down tool to do that, even though we asked not to use the slowing down tool, if possible, only use it like if it's absolutely undoable. Otherwise, she decided to do it. It's common in some ethnomusicological traditions. It's common to use slowing down for transcription, so I'm not very surprised. Anyway, that's a reason for why the majority of the non-enculturated transcribers agreed with the first culture expert more than with the second. Right. And that's the last example. That's the Jewish song, the Torah recitation. And that was the case, if you remember, where the culture experts were in a very good agreement. They basically did the same thing. If you look at the two lowest examples in the red, it's kind of the same. Whereas the non-enculturated transcribers are very different. And the reason for that is because the Jewish transcribers, they know the text, they know what is recited, and it's quite fast. So the people who don't know the language, don't know the text, they have no chance, basically. And you can see that one of the non-enculturated annotators decided not to transcribe a large chunk of it, considering it probably a speech, not singing, but the culture experts, they have no problem segmenting that. So, and that's it for now. So obviously we don't have anywhere enough data to make any far-reaching conclusions from that. We can exclude some things because we have seen even on this small number of songs how different the behavior is. So obviously there's no unified picture. And to wrap it up, I have put together a couple of reflections by the participants after the experiment about the methodology, and basically saying it was a useful exercise, can sometimes be more efficient than Western staff notation. It was really difficult to be, consistent. And also that there is no hierarchy of musical events in this methodology, so all notes are equal, whereas in Western staff notation you can make signs as like vibrato or major mordent, which you can't do in Tony. And that's it. Thank you so much.